Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, and I hope everybody out there is having a great weekend. Happy Sunday. I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been meaning to for a while. I've made this video a couple of times, but it doesn't come out right. I guess some of the things that I say sound very weird or sometimes brutal, but here it goes. You know, this is the time of the year that I don't know what it is with fall, which I love. I always start to appreciate the things around me. Things that I don't know what I would do without. I wouldn't be able to survive without certain things like nature, animals. I adore my pet. And I'm so glad that we live in a province where animal life and wildlife are very much respected, at least by most people and most institutions. And, the thing is that not everybody has the same idea about wildlife. Some people think that animals that live out in the woods and the forests are okay to hunt. I really disagree with that. We're living in a civilized society where if you want meat, you can go to the store and buy it. You don't have to kill an animal. I guess I don't understand the thrill of that sport at all, and I never will. Of course, back in the day where people were struggling to survive for food, I can understand the logic behind hunting, but or maybe if you were being stalked by a herd of tigers, I don't know. There are certain situations where shooting an animal is often necessary for survival, to save your life, to save your own skin. But I'm talking about animals that live in the woods or in the areas around us. They live with us. They coexist with us. And I think, the best way to help preserve our natural wildlife one of the best ways is to not feed them. Well, one, of course, I've already touched on, not to hunt them. And the other is not to feed them. There's so many reasons for that. But for instance, birds, all kinds of birds and geese, if you feed them, they get very sick. I'm sure they're not hungry. They eat grass, they eat berries, they eat leaves. They know how to get food. So, for the life of me, I don't understand why people, when they go to the park, okay, it's fun to feed the geese and the ducks, but if you do that, they get very sick. And it's almost as though we're abusing that animal. Of course, we don't intend to, but because a lot of us don't know any better, we end up feeding them whatever we have in our purses and our bags, the rest of our lunch. Don't do that, because they end up getting very sick. And so it took me a long time to realize that, it's a really big mistake to do that. And the other thing is, even though a lot of these wild animals are basically very gentle, and they may approach you very mildly, very calmly, it's always a good idea to stay away from things like foxes and coyotes. It's, I guess we all panic when we come face to face with a wild animal. I've run into foxes so many times, and they're like little kitty cats. But you never know. The best thing to do if you run into an animal like that is not to do anything, not to try to make friends with it, not to touch it. Stay away from it. Don't feed it. They know how to get food. They survive on berries and leaves. They know what's good for them. They don't really have many problems trying to survive. But if you have an idea that there's an animal that could be suffering, it's always best to get advice. Don't try to handle the situation on your own, because it could be that it might have rabies, or maybe it's sick or infected with some sort of communicable disease. It's not our place to make friends with wild animals, although some of them will be your friend. Don't approach them. I would say just act as though they're not there, or that maybe they're just like a puppy dog or a kitty cat. Just don't do anything out of the ordinary, because if you try to make friends or try to scare it off, that could end up in an attack. Or if you feed it, they might keep coming to you for food, and if you one day don't deliver, there will be maybe an attack. Also, they could get very sick if you feed it. We don't know what their habits are. We don't know everything about these animals. They live alone in the wilderness, apart from humans. And so, if we were not to feed coyotes and foxes, I'm sure we'd be finding food in all of the pet stores. But I haven't seen any fox food in the pet store lately, have you? So that's what I'm trying to say. If you're ever out taking a walk like I am right now, and you run into a wild animal, just, be cool. It's not exactly your friend. They're sizing you up. Don't feed them. Please don't feed them. That's the best way to preserve our wildlife. And please, I would say not to irritate them or aggravate them. Don't tease them. But also the most important part is, please do not feed them. And that's really important. That's very significant. And I think if we keep on following these specific guidelines, listen to what people say, read the signs, and don't disobey them, because they're there for a reason. And if you continue to feed the wildlife and tease it, it's not a very good way to preserve our wildlife. So, I don't know, I hope everybody understands that. I didn't always understand that. I always wanted to go and feed animals, make friends with them. But that's not a very realistic way to approach wildlife. And I would say the best way to, help them survive and coexist with humanity is to let them survive on their own. And like I said, if you see an animal, say an animal in a trap, or an animal that's sick, or an animal that's been run over, get help. Don't handle it on your own. What a beautiful day. It's a little cool though, and I'm not sure I'm perfectly dressed. I have on a light fall jacket, but I think the time has come to get something heavier out of my closet. Maybe a hat as well. I hate having cold ears, don't you? But anyway, guys, I really love taking these walks, because it reminds me of how big our responsibility is to these animals that live around us. And It's not. It's it's not as though we can, hang on guys, hang on. It's not as though that we can always control the situation that arises around us. And so I'm urging people that if you see an animal, even if you think it's already um, passed away, get help. Don't just, don't just leave it there. Don't just try to handle the situation on your own. Don't try to feed it or nurse it back to health on your own, although I know a great many people try to do this. But I don't think it's in our best interest to do that. Get help, call the animal control or call 911. Don't let the situation get out of control. That's the best way to deal with it. And don't feed wildlife, no matter how sweet and how calm and friendly they appear. Do not feed it. Do not make friends with it. Help it out if it needs help, but you don't need to make a friend out of a coyote or a fox. They don't want friends. They just want to exist in peace. They don't want to see us as a threat. And if we're constantly waiting for them and teasing them and feeding them, that would not be in their best interest. What a gorgeous, gorgeous surroundings. I would say the best time to take a walk, other than sunset, is early in the morning. The air is so nice and fresh. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this little talk, and I really hope that people out there will try to respect animals just as much as I try to, and really give them that distance and that space. They don't need to be managed by humans, that's for sure. So hopefully you've liked this content, and if you want to come back for more, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.